harmonizing with nature. With over 4 decades of changing lives, your self-discovery archaeologist, get ready to be the best of you with your host, Beverly Zymet.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Beverly Zymet Show, where being the best you has just gotten easier. My guest today is John Boyes, and he's calling in from north of London. Welcome to the show, John.
Hi Beverly, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, we're going to have a good time. We're going to have a great time. So
Great.
you're telling me it's a little warm over there in the UK.
We have a heat wave. Yeah, this is pretty unusual for the UK, but we actually have a heat wave and it's pretty hot for us. But it's great. We're enjoying it, but we're just not used to it. So we don't have things like air conditioning. So it's a bit warm, but it's
okay. Well, that's interesting. You don't have air conditioning. It's like... Okay.
We don't normally need it. We probably normally only need it for about 2 weeks of the year.
Yeah, that's kind of worthless then, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, we've actually been having so much rain in Denver this year. It's been crazy. We had a lot of snow. We had one of the best snow seasons of the year, for, it's been several years. And we couldn't even be on the ski slopes because they locked everybody up. It's like, oh my gosh.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
No, that's great. We're enjoying it. It's lovely.
That's good. Well, I'm headed to Vegas here next week, and it's going to be nice and hot down there. And
it's going to be definitely hot.
And I'm excited about it. I enjoy the heat. That I do.
Awesome. Enjoy it.
So, John, what is it that you do over there in the UK?
Well, we do a couple of things. My business was formed in 2007, and just before that, I got very, very interested in personal development. So my previous career was as a corporate director in the manufacturing industry, but I always loved personal development, and I just happened to get involved in firewalking. So having done that as part of a management development course, I think it was on the 3rd day of the course I went on, I decided that was far more interesting than doing what I was doing. So I literally jacked in my corporate career and started as a firewalking instructor. Came to the US and trained over there, and I've been doing that ever since. So since about 2000, I've been involved in some form of personal development and firewalking. And since about 2005, I qualified with a guy in California called Tolly Buchan.
I'm familiar with him.
Are you familiar with Tolly? Okay, well, Tolly trained me. And so I've been working in partnership with lots of other firewalking instructors and firewalking masters around the world, and having a great time, basically. Much more exciting than running
Sounds like it's a little heated up over there, right?
Much more exciting than running factories for a living, I can assure you.
Yes, definitely. So what does a firewalker do besides walk fire?
Indeed. Well, firewalking is thousands of years old, and it's been practiced in all sorts of different cultures for very many different reasons, for religious reasons, for sort of rites of passage, spiritual reasons. There's lots of different ways of firewalking. You can walk firewalking in the sort of Tony Robbins hyped up, high energy way.
Right.
You can walk in a very calm, focused, and spiritual way. I've even had guys, rolling across on the stomach.
Are you serious?
Yeah, deadly serious. I mean, it shocked me, believe me. But yeah, there's some guys who have very strange ways of taming the fire, so to speak, so that they can actually pretty well do anything with it without getting burnt. And it's a fascinating bit of psychology, because clearly, we're all designed to think that fire is harmful and can be very dangerous. And of course,
exactly.
But fire is very much a double-edged sword. It can create and it can destroy.
Right.
So fire, as you know from the States and the fires that you've had recently, it can do devastating destruction, but it can also keep you warm and it can keep you safe. So it has lots of different permutations. So what we do is we show people that if you use the fire as a metaphor for dealing with the fears, which are fears that you wouldn't want to hold on to, the fire can teach you that by learning the stuff that we teach in the firewalking seminar before you walk on the hot coals, if you practice that in life, it can pretty well help you to get through anything that's fearful. So we're teaching people to conquer their fears, overcome them, walk on hot coals, do a variety of other challenges as well before the firewalk. And then they can pretty well do whatever they want to do.
Oh, that's amazing. That's
Yeah,
amazing.
and you know, we've literally had people's lives completely changed through having done firewalking, myself included. You know, but
Right.
even bigger than that, you know, massive changes from people that were, you know, suicidal and deeply anxious for most of their lives, suddenly realizing they didn't need to do that. There was another way, an easier way.
Wow. I mean, I'm familiar with firewalking, you know, because
Oh, you are?
Tony
Okay.
Robbins over here and things
Yeah,
like
yeah,
that.
yeah,
And
yeah.
there's
Yeah,
been
yeah.
different modalities that use that. I haven't had an opportunity to walk fire, but
Oh, okay.
I've been on some pretty hot things. Let's put it that way, right? But you know, to get a deeper understanding of what the purpose is and the design, you know, when you made me think of something when you were talking about that, getting over your fears and stuff, and with the fire, you know, in the body and stuff. When you look at the elements, you actually have 5 elements or 4 elements, however, you know, what you're talking about. But you've got the air, which is the wind. You got the
Yeah.
fire, and then you've got the earth, and then you've
Yeah.
got metal, right?
Yeah.
You know, so when you look at that and you look at the different meridians in the body and the different things that's going on, you
Yeah.
know, so when you look at that fire meridian and where it runs and what it controls, you know, so your fire meridian is in that gallbladder liver area, same area
Yes.
where anger stores itself and bitterness and frustrations and things like that, right? So when
Yeah.
you start to put all that stuff together, it makes totally good sense, right? Your fear is in your kidneys, you know, but you're still running some of those same meridians. And
Absolutely.
to be able to bring the elements together with that, I think is fascinating. The same thing with feng shui. And I use feng shui with the physical body. And when you
Okay.
can learn how to use that in the physical body, again, you're working in those same elements,
Yes.
right?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And
Totally. I'm totally with you. I mean, the method that I use for firewalking, to prepare people for firewalking, is that I get them to be completely and utterly grounded in their body so that nothing can happen to them. They are so comfortable and so secure and feel so safe in their own body and their mind because everything is at peace,
Right.
that when they walk the coals, it's as if it's nothing, you know?
right.
And yet the same person 2 hours earlier, if he walked the same coals, would have burnt his feet.
Right. Exactly. The mind is such a powerful thing. You know,
Mind is so powerful.
and when you really can capitalize on that and just capture that power and stay focused and really, really stay focused, stay in those high levels of alpha and theta, you know, levels of
Absolutely.
consciousness,
Yes.
right? It makes a huge
Absolutely.
difference. And it also kind of reminds me of, you know, when the snake dancing and stuff, you know, where people
Yes.
get bit by
Yeah.
poisonous snakes, you know.
Yeah.
And so there obviously is a similarity, right? Because you're getting burned over here, you're getting poisoned over here, but again, your mindset is what's moving all of those fears away, so that you can surpass anything that comes at you. And
Absolutely.
when you can develop that, life becomes easier. You don't take
Yes.
things so personal, right?
No, you stop judging. Yeah.
Yes. Oh gosh,
Stop the judgment.
that's
Stopping that judgment of yourself, self-judgment is the biggest killer.
right, exactly. And everything starts, you know, with you. You know, how you fill your own cup is how you fill other people's cups, right? And
Absolutely.
I know,
Absolutely.
gosh, early on in my teachings and stuff, when I started working in this avenue, actually back in the 80s, you know, it's removing certain words. You know, remove judgment, remove can't, remove won't, remove, you know, these
Yeah.
things that just want to hold
Yeah.
you back, right?
Yeah.
And start to really recognize and understand these things when you can focus on that, when you can actually recognize it. Then you can start repairing it, eliminating it, and doing whatever, because if there's no recognition about, you know, anything that's going on, it's as though things just pass you by, right?
Absolutely. So, you know, developing that level of consciousness where you can actually understand things, just allow things to be,
Right.
stop judging, being frightened of things, stop reacting to things people say, especially at the moment. Goodness me, there's so much reaction going on at the moment to what's happening around the world.
Right.
So much mental health issues now around the world because of what's
Oh
happening.
my gosh, it's gotten out of hand.
We're going to be busy.
Yeah.
We're going to be busy. Yeah.
Yes, we are. Actually,
Yeah.
a friend of mine, we partnered up, and it was prior to all of this, and we started working in the virtual reality world with the little avatar virtual reality world, right?
Yeah.
And we found out that a lot of the mental institutions were starting to use, that industry started to use the virtual reality to help people come over phobias and fears, the PTSDs, anxieties,
Yeah.
and things like that, because they could take you into the realness of it and then just poof and it's gone to help them overcome things and whatever. And now, because of this social distancing, people need people, right? And
Absolutely.
and so it's like when you're distanced, and 6 weeks is all it takes to make that shift in a belief and a fear.
Yeah.
And when you walk around, you see people, oh, they all got their mask on, and you're walking, and all of a sudden they just like, you just feel their energy, and they move to get out of your way, like way move, and I'm like,
And of
this
course,
is-
the most important part is that you can't see their facial expressions, which you need to read people.
yeah.
You can't see that. You can just see their eyes, and that's it.
Yeah,
So
and it's sad because
It's very sad. It's
we've
very sad.
built that, and then you look at the synergism of energy, right?
Yeah.
The consciousness, the group consciousness of what goes on, that's not healthy either, and it's like,
No.
oh my gosh, what is going on in this world? There's some good things come out of it. I mean, the pollution's lifted, which is nice.
The animals are feeling great.
Yes, they
The
are.
wild animals. Yeah.
Yes, they are. Nature's happy,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Families are coming closer together. So there's a lot of positive things.
There is. And I think
Yeah.
that's what we've got to remember, is
Yeah.
there will be some good stuff come out of this.
Yeah, and I think if we start to recognize that where the pendulum, we got the pendulum way over here on one side and way over here on the other side. How do we
Yeah.
take these pendulums and bring them down now into that harmony to where we
Yes.
can start to feel peace and everything, and calmness and that love again, and that connection. I mean, I don't know if there's a lot of violence going on over there now, but there's places here in the States.
There has been, yeah.
Is-
There's been a lot of reaction to a lot of the government statements recently. Yeah.
Right, and it's
A lot of pushing back. Yeah.
a lot of rebelling. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so again, another extreme of where you go, and so it's just staying focused. But I've noticed since we've been working a lot now in the virtual reality, because we've taken the gaming platforms and we've actually turned them into education and networking. So we're doing actually networking events where we have a little table set up. Right, you put your products on there. Everything is clickable. You got these little avatars running all over in there, communicating with each other and interacting, And we've built it out into this absolutely beautiful design. I mean, it just looks like a dreamland, And we got
awesome.
several different ones. We'll take people on different adventures, We also have speakers in there. We have this huge stage. It's outside, We have the sunlight. It's just absolutely adorable.
That sounds amazing.
And it is. I'll have to get you a link, and you have to take a look at it, because
No, you must do.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
But
I use rock music,
Yeah?
live rock music in the seminars as well, and that does make a big difference to
Yeah.
energy and focus.
well, we're
I haven't
actually
been able to do that for a while.
we've actually had, speaking of music like that, we've actually had people coming to us and say, can you build concerts? And we say, yes, we can. So we've got a couple different huge concert halls to where bands can come into the virtual reality world, and they can
fantastic.
play, they can sell tickets to the events and everything, they're coming in, and
Wow.
all the fans are there. The difference is actually the fans can now talk with the bands, and just have a conversation, and nobody's going to get mauled, It's just,
Oh, that's amazing. So,
so
you can
there's-
actually talk to musicians. That's amazing.
yeah, and so there's a lot of different things that we're going to do in there. But they're all events, but it's bringing people together into that synergism, because the mind itself, says there's somebody here beside me,
Yes.
right? And again, it doesn't judge. The mind doesn't judge, sex or race or creed or anything, color, nothing. It just says, oh, there's an element beside me, and this is where it's supposed to be, and they can have a conversation,
Yeah.
And the nice thing too, being in the virtual reality aspect of it, is it gives a person more confidence to be able to just speak their truth, be who they really truly are. We get people up there on stage that are like petrified, and we know that people would rather die than get on stage,
Yeah, absolutely, yeah.
And now
Okay.
they're up there on stage, and the confidence, you can watch it in their speeches, and they start talking, and the momentum picks up, and the energy picks up, and the confidence picks up, and you're just sitting there watching, and you're going like, wow, because
Wow, it's incredible.
they don't have anyone looking at them per se,
That's
and
right.
that's some of the fears. So there's so many things inside this virtual reality that is just changing lives as well, but it's also bringing people back together into that synergism.
Yes.
We can do entertainment night, we can do party night. It's like, hey, get your family together, get your friends together. We can build this big fire pit. We can have this big screen where you can do movie night, or you put music up there, you can dance, there's just so many things that we can do in there that brings the people back together, that
Yeah.
really helps the mind have that togetherness, and that's a healing process in itself, right?
Absolutely. Yeah, sounds amazing.
Yeah, we could probably do
Totally.
fire walking in there. Might be
Yeah,
a
yeah,
different,
yeah.
might
Yeah,
be
why
a
not?
little bit different, but what the mind
Well,
can
fireworks.
believe and conceive, it can achieve, right?
Absolutely. And that's the whole point, isn't it? And
Yeah.
that's why this stuff is so powerful. I think that, the combination of live music, fire walking, and, very powerful personal development exercises
Yeah,
just creates an amazing healing atmosphere for a lot of people.
right.
It's-
Well, you look at the chemistry of the body. We are electrical magnetic, right?
Yes.
And we have ears so that we can work with the sound, because of the sound vibration. Changes the system.
Yeah.
Our sight, and sometimes we are blinded by our sight, right?
Yes. Yes. Indeed.
You
Yes.
know?
Very much so.
And
Yeah.
so when you bring your third eye in here, you begin to see a lot more clearly, right?
Yeah.
And then being able to speak your truth by updating your database, right?
Yes. Yes.
Make that database shift and change and grow with you and change with you, and really start to be true to yourself. That old database from history,
Absolutely.
from
Yeah.
your
Lot
birth
of-
that no longer serves
lot of-
purpose. It's like,
lot of downloaded garbage. Absolutely. Yeah.
right. So when you're working with people in the firework,
Yeah.
the fire walking business, right?
Yeah.
And you say you do things, so what is some of that preliminary work that you're doing with them to help move them into that mindset to be able to walk on those hot
Well,
coals?
my business is called the Inner Peace Center. Okay, and the reason it's called the Inner Peace Center is because the vast majority of us, myself included up until recently, was looking for solutions external.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. When of course you don't need to look for anything externally. If you can't find it internally, then you're never going to find it externally. And so what I do is I bring together a group of people. It can be 20 people, it can be 100 people, it can be 1,000 people, it doesn't matter. you bring them together, and intuitively I get a feel for the energy of the group of people, and then I will literally tailor whatever exercises I choose to actually introduce them to, depending on what feedback I'm getting from them and whether I feel that they're ready.
Right.
Some of those exercises can be just simply teaching them the different vibration that we have depending on what emotion we choose to spend most of our time in. So in other words, if people are spending most of their time in fear, or spending a lot of their time, down in pity or shame, or guilt, which is where a lot of people spend a lot of their time.
Oh, yes, they do.
Including myself many years back. I spent far too much of my time there. I take them right the way up to the top of the emotional spectrum, where they can actually spend their time in courageousness, acceptance, and then peace, and then whatever. And I show them the difference, how when they operate in that higher frequency, how all of their decisions become almost simple, almost automatic. Whereas if they spend their time in that lower frequency, where they're vibrating at a very, very low, disabling frequency, everything's like wading through treacle. It's like really difficult. Life is just really difficult. Everything becomes difficult. The people that you meet become objectionable, and because you're putting that out. You don't realise that you're just getting back what you're putting out.
Exactly.
And so we teach them a whole variety of different challenges, which when they first hear what it is we ask them to do, like walking on broken glass, for example, that's a really scary thing for somebody to do if they haven't got any clue about what mindset you need in order to do it safely.
Right.
So there's another very powerful metaphor for showing somebody that if they get into the right mindset and they calm themselves down and they're very careful and very conscious and very mindful of every step that they make, they can walk across broken glass without any problem whatsoever. Yeah. And yet again, a bit like fire, we associate broken glass with blood, cutting ourselves, pain, whatever, sharpness, whatever. But actually, done with training and with mindfulness, you can just walk across. We've done entire presentations standing on broken glass for a whole hour. Doing a presentation to a room full of doctors. And you're standing on broken glass.
That would have been a sight to see.
They're just looking at your feet. They're not looking at you. Waiting to have to go and get their first aid kits.
They're waiting for the glass to turn red, right?
Yeah. So this is one. We do a lot of the Native American first generation challenges, which have been very westernized. So they're not as they were done by them, but we westernize things like breaking arrows.
Right.
We break arrows in throats, and we do all sorts of different things, which to the uninitiated seem crazy and really scary. But with the right mindset and the right preparation, they become absolutely simple and totally safe.
Right.
And so what we do is we gradually work our way up to the firewalk. So by the time they get out there and they're ready to walk the coals, their underpants are on the outside of the trousers, and they can do anything. They're just superheroes, and it's just a lovely, rewarding thing to do for a big group of people. Because I've had groups of people at the big spiritual festivals that I go to, where everybody in the room, I've got 150 people in the room, every single person in that room has dealt with something pretty big in their life. They've overcome something, and I might not find out what it is until several months later when they come back to me on a broadcast or Facebook or whatever. But we're talking about massive things that they've overcome that up until that time in their life they suppressed and hadn't dealt with. And just simply by doing something as simple as walking on hot coals has allowed them to move forward and get rid of that and just almost drop the shackles of their behaviour in the past and just move forward with their lives. And that is so rewarding to do that.
It is. Well, those things in your past that you were hanging on to with those great fears and stuff like that become irrelevant when you accomplish something such as, walking on fire and things like that, because it is a milestone. It's like, wow, if I can do this, why am I hanging on to that? And
what else am I restricting myself by?
Right. Exactly. It really starts to open up things. And I walked the red path here like most of my life, even as a little child, I was on that red path with the Native American, that I didn't know, but it was like I just felt it so much a part of me. And I grew up in the Midwest, and we didn't have Native, Americans there, but I had it in here. I was, and it followed me.
It's part of you.
Yeah,
It was part of you.
it was definitely part of me, and I followed it through my life. And as kids, my dad's parents were out in Montana, so we would go out there every summer, right? And we'd have to go across the reservation coming through South Dakota a lot of times, right? But you never really saw Native, I guess my first recollection of Native American and having interaction with them was when we had little carnivals come to the little towns. They had, during the summer, they would set up carnivals. And some of the people that were working in the carnivals were Native American. And I remember having some really interesting conversations with a few of them, But, and then I think the first time I really, really got exposed to the red path and a lot of the beliefs and everything was in the 90s when I moved to Las Vegas, and I was working with a group of spiritual healers and stuff, and there were some in there who were doing sweat lodges and things like that.
Yes.
And that just spoke to me so loud. I can remember the first time I went in a sweat. I'm like,
oh yes,
this is definitely my love here. It's like I felt so at home, like I've never felt at home before.
Yes.
And then, and when you look at the spirit quest and all the different things that go on, it just was so part of me. So I know somewhere in another life I had to have been a shaman, right?
Yeah.
And I've had different experiences because I'm very intuitive. I always have been. And going into Arizona and the ruins and things down there, I felt like I've been here before, like I knew what was going on here before, and it's just, you just know it. You don't know how you know it, but you just know it. And, and again, I think when you start to really open up to yourself and start to really trust in yourself and believe in yourself, memories of your soul, that soul cellular memory starts talking to you. And that makes absolutely the big shifts. We all have a story of being like, say, down at the pit of hell, where it looks like there's no way out.
Yeah.
And then there is, but to be able to be a part of a lifestyle of my choosing to work with people to help them recognize where that pit is, to be able to move them up out of it and move them out there, fast. It doesn't have to be a lifetime to get out of the pit. You didn't get there, all at once, but you can actually get out of it faster than you went into it because of a clarity and an understanding, and how to develop that mindset. And notice, and you probably have with your clients as well, when you start working with them, you get them up in that feeling confidence, feeling trust, feeling peace, feeling harmony, feeling happiness, that their whole spirit lifts and the energy lifts, they feel lighter, and then they compare it with, the guilts and the griefs and the angers, because it takes so much more energy to hang on to that, and it weights you down and it tires you out, right?
Yes.
And it's like, wow, why wouldn't you want to be over here in all this high energy instead of over here like, oh my God, here we go again, right?
And of course, as I said earlier, it attracts in more of the same. So
it does.
If you're in that low place, you just keep attracting people with that same low energy.
Yeah.
Giving you some more, whereas if you do the opposite, you attract people that are like-minded, full of energy, full of hope, who live their life to the full, make their life easy, etc., etc.
All thought is magnetic.
I am surrounded by the most amazing people,
It is so true when you start working in that. And
Yeah.
since I started this show like in March of this year, just prior to all this chaos going on.
Oh wow, really?
Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. A lot of people don't realize it's really
No, I thought you've been doing it for years.
a new show. And I've done other shows. I've been in the face of the camera since I was 7, and I'm telling you, that was a really long time ago. But
you seem pretty natural at it.
it is easy for me to be out there and spoken in that way. And then again, that's what this show is all about, is to help people to become that expression of themselves, to feel comfortable. And that's why I do all my shows organic,
Yes.
right? Where I don't know the person coming on and they don't know me.
No.
But it just flows and it just opens
Makes it
up.
so much more fun.
It does,
Much
because
more
it's
fun.
like,
Yeah.
oh, what's going to be next? What's going to be next? And
It's exciting.
it is.
Yeah.
And I have met some of the most amazing, fantastic, beautiful people on this show that I'm starting to work with, I've developed friendships with. It's just amazing how people can come together, because in essence, we're really not that different no matter where on the planet we are. And I actually have interviewed a lot of people from the UK now, a lot.
Okay.
And got there for a while. Everybody that was coming on the show was UK, South Africa, Australia.
We're not that weird.
No, no, not at all, not at all. Oh gosh, I'll bet you I had maybe 10, 15 interviews in a row from people outside of the U.S. And all of a sudden I got someone calling from the U.S. and it's like, oh my gosh, this is like a treat, because I hadn't had anyone, from the U.S. for a while. But to be able to listen to the experiences and, the events and how things are happening on your side of the planet, it just goes to show that we're all one in the universe. We don't think different, we don't eat different, we don't act different, we don't perform different. The beliefs, everything is really the same. We are one. We're all one.
We are all of the same source.
Yeah. And
we all came from the same place.
Yep.
We're all going back to the same
We're all going back to the same place. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And it's all about living your life to the fullest. And that's one of the reasons why I use the theme, being the best you can be. And I've been using that for years, right?
Yes,
Anytime I did
yeah.
So anytime I did a Facebook Live, whether I was on vacation, just showing, where I've been, or family events, I'd always end that, hey, go out there, have the greatest time of your life, be the best you that you can be. Because for me, there's always room for improvement. And when you can always tell yourself, what am I going to do today that's going to make me just a little bit better than I was yesterday?
Yeah.
Doesn't matter what it is. Doesn't matter if you walk by somebody and you just smile and they smiled back. That may have made a life-changing event.
Do you know, that's the one thing, I don't know if it's the same your side, but in the UK, that's something that has been really positive about this lockdown, is that everybody has become far more sociable as neighbours. I live in a neighbourhood, and everybody now helps everybody else. Everybody knows everybody else. When we were all busy and we were all going about our own business before COVID, we never had time to say good morning to each other because we were all busy running around like headless chickens.
Right.
Yeah. Now we're all cutting each other's lawns. We're sharing each other's food. We're borrowing each other's tools to do DIY. It's just amazing. My next door neighbour's been here for 20 years, right? Mm-hmm. He works as an accountant in the music industry. He's the most amazing guitarist. I've been playing the guitar since I was 7, right? And neither of us knew that we were both musicians. And both of us have been looking for somebody else to play with and jam with. And
they were right next door for 20 years.
It's literally like 25 yards away from me. It's crazy. So, we need to go and ask these questions of each other.
And that is so true. It's so true. Growing up in the Midwest, I was in farm country, right? I was second oldest of 11 kids.
Me too. I'm the sixth kid on a farm. We're the same.
There you go. And it's a whole different environment.
It is. It
right?
is.
And
Yes.
it's small town living, and there's pros and cons on big city and
Yeah.
farm country. Uh, everybody out there in the country, it's like they know everybody else's business before you do it. They know what you're going to do
You know the name of
before you
everybody's
do it.
dog, their cat, everything. Yeah. And you
Yeah.
even know the name of their cows.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everybody knows your business, and everybody knows what's going on, and you have those certain people that they make sure everybody is doing what they're supposed to do. They make sure that the eyes are on them, right? We're watching you. You got those that do that. Well, then you go into the big city, like you have apartment buildings and stuff like that. You have homes side by side, yet you don't know, just like you said, you don't even know who is living next door.
No.
That does not happen
We're all just minding our own business.
when you're out in the country, right?
No.
Yeah.
You're
So
right. You're right.
so there's a lot to be said, if we can combine, both sides of the fence together, and just start merging
Yes.
that, because there's good in both, and it's capitalizing on that people connection, people connection, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
It's so powerful, and it's these last 3 months. Whilst there have been some crazy things going on, there's also been some amazingly powerful social and spiritual things going on too.
Right.
And I think it's brought a lot of people much closer. And we got some work to do.
Yes, we
Clearly.
do. Yes, we do.
We've got some work to do, but I think that as long as there are people that don't just follow our so-called leaders like sheep, and are prepared to stand up and be heard, I think that we can change the world for a much better place and a much safer place in the future. That's my goal.
That's my goal as well. I'm right beside you there, John. Right beside you.
Yeah.
And it's about working as a unit, right? Violence begets violence. Hate begets hate. Love begets love. Right?
The first
Peace begets
6
peace.
years of my working career were in the Royal Air Force.
Oh, okay.
So I had a military career before I got into manufacturing and production engineering, and so I also have that military. My father was a major in the army, so I have that military experience as well, and so I've got a lot of experience to draw on where things were horrible, because I was in wars. I think that there's a big shift coming, a big.
Oh yeah, I don't think we've even got the impact of it. I mean, we're seeing the extremes. We're really seeing the extremes, and we have choice. We have choice. It's like which I wrote a book actually called "Which Side of the Fence Are You On?" Because we live in this world, this duality world. You can't be on both sides at the same time, right? So you can't feel happy and sad at the same time.
No, that's right.
Right? So where are you? Which side do you want to be on? Which one makes you feel good? And it really is just that simple. But it's almost like we're taught to make things difficult, right? And
Yeah. I mean, a friend of mine, he calls it the script. We are handed this script from the minute we start to be able to. From the minute we actually start to be able to think for ourselves, other people come along and say, no, you mustn't think for yourself. You have to follow these rules. and that script just gets bigger and bigger and bigger the older you get.
It does, and that's what it gets
You're sort of dragging an Encyclopedia Britannica around with you of other people's crap.
That's a great way to look at it, because thought is magnetic. And I think a lot of people don't really understand, so you get together, there's been a drama in your life, and it's usually around a relationship, right? And so your girlfriends get together, or the guys get together, and you're man bashing or woman bashing, one or the other, right? And and it's like you're spilling your story. And of course, everyone's sitting around listening, and they're giving you sympathy because they've had some kind of an experience with the same feeling, different but the same. And of course, they're like, oh, I know, I get you, I feel your pain, whatever. Everybody's crying together, drinking another beer, whatever. But what they don't realize is they're taking all of that negative charge into their pile of crap already, making it bigger and bigger, so to try to find where your ignition point was, you're never going to find it. It's worse than trying to look for a needle in a haystack, because you've attracted and attached to so much other people's garbage of that same emotion, of that intensities, and it builds. And then when you hear stories, when you listen to other people, let's just say you had an event in your life, maybe you were sexually abused, and you hid that inside because you didn't want anybody to know, and you hid it even more, you buried it even more deeper, but you started making different beliefs about yourself when you heard people talking about, well, they probably deserved it, or they did this, and that's a lie, and all this kind of different, talk that goes out there, and you're sitting here knowing you had the experience when you were 5 or 6 years old, which was an event, and you're just a kid. But just the thought and the listening to that verbiage, it builds this thing into something that totally gets out of hand.
Yeah, completely out of control.
Yeah. So it's being cautious of the words that we say can hurt someone without even knowing.
Yeah.
Right? And, it just kind of has that sensation of, okay, I want to work with this person to move through this, and we can move through this fast. And I've developed over the years a little system called the rah-rah system, was to recognize an issue, to acknowledge that issue as being the truth, because it was your truth when it was created.
Sure.
Right?
It's the truth for you. Yeah.
Yeah. And if you don't acknowledge it as the truth, the subconscious stays in conflict, and it ain't gonna let go. It's just like a little kid, this is my toy and you ain't gonna have it, and they will fight to the bitter end. The subconscious is the same way, right? So you've got to acknowledge it, that it's the truth, and then the subconscious relaxes, and then it's okay to give it away. It doesn't matter, and then you release that. And once you have a void, energy doesn't like a void, and I think this is the biggest mistake that I have found. People don't replace it with the positive new belief.
Absolutely. It's a vacuum waiting to be filled.
Yeah, and we live in a negative world. You know what's going to pop in first if you don't put something in there positive. And it doesn't have to be relevant to what's going on. All you have to do is say, I am powerful, I'm confident, I'm loved, some real high energy and first person positive. And then accept that as a new truth, and that kind of seals it into that cell memory. And it works really fast. So you don't have to know what it is, because it's magnetic. And you can grasp a whole big pile of it and incinerate it, really fast. And when you really understand how those 5 little steps work, you can continuously do it throughout your day. As soon as something comes up, it comes out, comes up, comes out, comes up, comes out.
Almost automatic, yeah.
Right. And that rewires, then you've got those neurotransmitters shifting, got the dendrites firing, you're rebuilding your whole thought processing, right? That is going to shift you from over here in the fear to where you can walk on any fire that you come across, right?
Yeah, nothing is impossible.
Nothing's impossible, and everything's probable.
Exactly. I think that's the great thing. It's one of the philosophies that we use in the Firewalk, is that you accept the possibility that it could go wrong. So because that's life, you accept that there's always something that can happen that's outside your control. Right. So you have to accept that. And you take responsibility for your actions, then you expect the best.
Right.
Yeah. You expect the best outcome, and then you go for it, and you come across the coals and nothing happens. You think, wow, I just spent 2 hours petrified that I was going to be an inch shorter at the end of the evening, because I'm going to burn my feet off.
I can just see my feet all wrapped up in this pain.
And you walk across it, and there's absolutely nothing's happened. You just feel like, wow, that was amazing.
Yeah,
you can you can feel the radiant heat coming up to your body. You think, how can that be? How can you not burn your feet?
Yeah, because you're allowing it to come through your body, and not to just gravitate to the bottom where it's going to burn, right?
You're not focusing on burning.
No.
Focusing on being okay.
You're focusing on getting from this side to that side. Let's get the heck over here.
And we train them to expect the best, but also to celebrate when they've succeeded.
Yeah.
So when they get to the other side, and then we have this massive bear hug, and then everybody's, it's amazing. And
It's
then
like my little great grandson. This is so cute. That when you did that, it reminded me of that. He's a Hulk fan, right? And Hulk has this thing or what, whatever, right?
Yeah.
So we're playing cornhole, which
Just
is
he's going green.
Yeah. So we're playing this game, and you have these little bean bags. You got to throw it in the hole, right? And it's from one side to the other. So he's running across, and he throws the bag, right? And he misses, and he just goes, oh, like this. And he puts his head down, and he walks back to the other side. And then he gets halfway back, and he perks up. He grabs another bag, and he runs across over there, and he gets to the thing, and he throws it in. It goes in the hole, and he goes, yeah, Hulk! And he goes, like this.
I know. It's amazing.
He's 3 years old. It is just...
I have just quickly share a similar thing. There's a little lad. We have our first granddaughter, by the way. My daughter just had our first grandchild.
Oh,
We've got
nice.
a 7-week-old granddaughter. But a little boy in the village. His name is Rowan. He was born without a sacrum, so he's going to have lots and lots of problems throughout his life. He's just coming up to 2 now. I think 1.5. I think, and he's going to have lots of operations as he gets bigger because he can't actually put any weight on his hips yet.
Uh-huh.
They've got to rebuild all that. Now the thing is, nobody's actually told him. Nobody's told him that he's disabled.
Well, and
So
that's
he
a
doesn't
good
care.
thing.
Yes, who doesn't care? He's screaming around on one of these little buggy things with wheels on it. He's flying around the house with a great big smile on his face, loving life.
Right.
He has no concept that he's got problems coming up.
Right.
So he doesn't care. He's just too busy living.
Right.
And it's us, the grown-ups, that make him feel uncomfortable about who he is. And it's not him. He's quite happy being who he is.
Exactly.
But we come along and say, oh, no, you're disabled. You can't feel good because I certainly would never say that to him, but there's a lot of people that will.
And that's
his peers
sad.
will tell him, you can't be good and happy because you've got all this going wrong with you. So therefore you should be sad and upset. And I just think he's such an amazing example to all of us.
We can learn that. We can learn so much from kids. I've had a couple of different women on. I had one gal on who has 2 children that are clinically autistic in 2 different avenues of it.
Sure.
And she just lets them be kids, like normal kids, right? Because to them, they have nothing to compare it to. And where they have grown, it's amazing. I learned a lot about autism that I didn't
they're
know.
often geniuses.
Yes. Yeah, because,
Geniuses.
this is something she explained to me that I didn't understand. You understand the dendrites and you understand the neural pathways and everything, right? So what she's saying with an autistic child, let's just say you have 100 of these neural pathways. An autistic child has like 1,000.
Yes.
So it's really all over, and that's why they perform sometimes the way they do, is because of that. So I found that very interesting.
And they have like 100% recall. They can recall everything about something.
Yeah, because again, you've got all that neural pathway stuff.
There's no filters. It just it's all everything.
Yeah. So it's interesting how again, you let them be kids. They're kids. You let them just be them. And then I had another gal who was on the show. They call her Unstoppable Tracy. Right. And she definitely is unstoppable. She was born with no limbs, 0 limbs.
Yeah.
Right? And this woman has conquered skiing, sailing, climbing the Himalayas, everything. I mean, listening to her story, I never laughed so hard. It just because she makes it fun.
And they've got a great sense of humor as well.
Oh my God! Yeah. And again, her parents did not hold her back from doing anything. She said, she really started her resourcefulness when she was like 2 years old. All she could see is up there on that counter. There's a cookie jar. Inside that cookie jar is a cookie, and I want a cookie, right? And her parents said, she's 2. They didn't think she could. Yeah. She did. She found a way to get a chair over, climb up on that, get up on the counter, get what she wanted. Yeah, it's just, but her stories are so funny.
It never ceases to amaze me when you meet people like that.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
just it's
So
wonderful
it
to
goes
watch.
to show the limits are here. This is where the
That's
limit begins,
totally
right? And when we can move those limits away, and it's like the what if, yeah, but what if this? Yeah, well, what if that? I ain't looking at what if that. I'm looking at what if that, right?
Yeah, we are the ones that self-impose our limitations. Absolutely.
Right. Well, we
I know
keep,
there's a lot of other people that are pretty good at doing it for us as well, but
yeah.
we do have that choice to say
We
no. I'm not
do, we
accepting
do,
them.
and and kids coming into the world today are very strong-minded, and the days of yesteryear when it's because I said so does not
Right.
work. I mean,
Yeah.
I have some little great nieces, and I tell you, I got one. She reminds me so much of me. She is just a stubborn. I mean, I'm not kidding you. I watch her and it's like, oh my God, it's like watching me grow up.
Yeah. My
And
daughter's very similar to me.
so
Yeah.
we talk, right? And it's like, and her mother's like ready to pull her hair out. She's like, oh my God. I said, Crystal, you weren't much different than she is, right?
No,
And it's like,
that's
okay,
amazing.
she needs choices. She's a little over 2 now. She's about 2.5. She needs choices, So when she wants something, I mean, she wants it, right? And you don't say no. You just say, well, okay, you can have this, or you can have this.
Yeah.
Oh, I want that. Mom said this or this. It's your choice. Which one do you want?
Yeah.
But it's this one or this one. So you're not saying no. You're giving her a choice, this one or this one.
Exactly.
I'm going to count to 3 now. If you don't take one of these, then you get nothing.
Yeah.
So 1, 2, and you start 3, she'll grab one. But you got to give her choices and let her know that you're going to stand your ground, because
It's
she
so true.
will
That's a great metaphor for life. You have to make choices. Sometimes they
Right.
seem incredibly difficult. You have to make.
Yeah, but when you never say no, and
Very hard.
let it go. I tell you, it's interesting watching the kids come into the world today, and
It is.
all these different little generations and stuff, and coming from a really big family, and we're close. We're very, very close, so we all get together and stuff, and you see the different generations. It's interesting now, because I think back when I was a kid, and my mom and my grandparents. It's like, wow, I wonder if these are the same thoughts my grandma had when she was watching us, because I'm in that position, right?
Yeah.
Being a grandparent and a great grandparent, it's like, this is really interesting. But
I'm fascinated by young children.
I love kids.
Having the
love
opportunity to be a grandfather for the first time is amazing.
It's amazing, isn't it?
Absolutely
When you
fabulous.
hold your own child, that's one feeling. But when you
Yeah.
hold that grandchild, there's no words for it. But John, the day will come when you get a hold of great grandchild. It's going to take you to the end of space and back. That feeling is like, I can't describe it. There's just no description for it. You have got to experience it to understand it.
No, I look forward to it.
Yeah.
Got a few years to go yet.
Yeah, this one's only what, 7 months you said now?
No, 7 weeks.
7 weeks. Woo!
Weeks. I know it's tiny.
Yeah.
It's probably here now, actually. My daughter lives only just a few minutes away from us.
Oh, well, that's nice. You get to see her all the time.
We actually had the baby here. Okay, it was a home birth. So the baby
Nice.
was born in our lounge. So we've had a beautiful relationship. We've been very blessed, very fortunate, with COVID, where we've actually been able to see our kids.
That's
A lot of people
beautiful.
haven't had that right.
Yeah,
So I'm deeply grateful for that.
definitely. Oh my gosh, John, we could continue with this conversation. It's been a
We could,
treat.
but I would definitely be watching your shows with great interest. Yeah, because from what it sounds like, your virtual reality thing sounds amazing.
Yeah, we'll have to get you
That's
all
that's what we need. We need something like that here.
right. And I'll share
Still
with
not able
you.
to have, we're still not able to have big groups of people together yet.
Right. And this is a way to do that and still have that synergism of energy,
Yeah,
and
That's why I
make
should be
it,
watching that with great interest.
yeah, So make it familiar to what we know,
Yes.
but make it one step better and more
Sort of
exciting, right?
get as close as we can to reality. Yes.
Yes, exactly, exactly. To get that separation back together, that unity.
As you said right at the start of this conversation, that as human beings, we need connection.
Yeah, people
If we
need
don't
people.
have connection, we break down very quickly.
Right. Yeah, and
Very, very
you can see it. You can see the isolation. You can see the fear. How people, try to run to get away from you, and it's like that's not the way it's supposed
It's not
to
the way
be.
we're supposed to be at all. That's not how we're wired.
Yes.
Certainly not what's healthy for us.
Yes,
No.
exactly.
Indeed.
So, John,
Well, it's been an absolute pleasure.
if you could give the audience one more big tip, what would that be?
The biggest tip of all is, quite frankly, we are on this planet for a tiny, tiny little short piece of time. We are born and we're gone. There's a line, and what you choose to do in that few seconds, if you take the whole of time, it's just a few seconds in reality. What you choose to do with that is really important. Do not waste it, because it is over so fast. So don't put anything off. All of those things that you've been thinking of doing, go and do them. All of those things you've been wanting to say to people, providing it's nice, go and do it. Go and say it. Remember to thank people for doing wonderful things for you. Remember to tell those people close to you how much you love them. All of that stuff. Life is very, very short, and don't waste it. Don't waste it. Just get out there and be the person you're supposed to be. Like you said, try and be the best version of yourself you can be every day. Just improve every day. Improve a little bit. If you can do that, that's. If you improve a tiny little fraction of a percent every day, in 365 days, that's a lot. That's a massive difference.
That's right. Every little bit turns into a lot of it.
Every little bit turns into a big bit.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you, John. We're definitely going to have to get you back on the show again. This has been
That would be
amazing, and
That would be
I
wonderful.
got a lot more
Absolute
information
pleasure.
on fire walking. So,
Good. Well, maybe one day we'll see. I'll come over and meet you and we'll do a fire walk together.
well, I've walked on glass. I've walked on a lot
I've
of
done
hot
that.
things, just not hot
Yeah,
coals. But,
just not coals. Great. Okay.
but I'm game
What's
for
gonna-
anything. I jump out of airplanes. I'll walk on coals.
Yeah, well, I'll come over to the States. It's warmer over with you.
Oh, I thought I was going to come over there. It's been a while since
You're
I've been over there.
more than welcome to come here anytime. Yeah, but as I say, we're about 30 minutes on the train from London. So if you're
Well,
ever in
there-
London, let me know.
I have.
Yeah, let me know. We'll meet up. Yeah.
That sounds great. As soon as we can fly over there, I'm working on my teleportation. So who knows? Maybe one day I just teleport right there into your front door. Knock, knock, knock.
Just arrive. Absolutely. Well, it's been a pleasure. Thank you. I
Thank
really
you, John.
appreciate being invited on. Take care, everybody.
All right, it's time
See
to
you soon.
say, go out there, be the best you that you can be. Because John and we're going to be the best we that we can be, and we'll see you all on that next show. Bye for
We're
now.
doing it. Cheers now. Bye.